And then of course, one of the big issues is training. Why do officers make mistakes? Right? It's about training, it's about leadership, it's about supervision. So it all goes hand in hand. And we know, looking at their training budget, for example, the training budget, you know what the training budget is for Teller County Sheriff's Office? $4,500. That is the entire training budget.
Is that a Walmart special?
No, it's you know, and so, you know, we've looked at outside organizations that can come in and provide training for us once we're successful in winning the election. And so what we know is that there's resources out there that we can access to help train our people for the organization, whether it's detentions, patrol, investigations, and supervisors. That we have a core training program for them just for a basis, you know, to create that base of knowledge for them. And then continuing education for them. Now, people say, well, Mark, how are you going to do that at $4,500 a year? And that's difficult. Well, we know, and I didn't write it down. We have this organization in Colorado that are federally funded, and it's a training organization that provides law enforcement training, and I forget the acronym of their name, so I'm kind of embarrassed. However, the president of that organization works for the Division of Gaming, where I work, and Bill Vidmar was telling me, he says, you know, Mark, he goes, I get $600,000 a year to provide training for law enforcement officials in the state of Colorado. And he says, what's a shame is that I have to return approximately $200,000 a year because agencies don't access my training. And I said, that's not going to be a problem, Bill. When we take office, we will make sure that we spend all your money. And what's nice about that organization is they have a training manual, you know, that has classes that you can kind of go through and pick and choose. But what's really nice about the organization, say that I want to create a class that's not in their book. I just call them and say, hey, Bill, this is what I want you guys to do. I want you to create me a class that covers these areas and address these areas. They will create and develop the curriculum. They will send it back to us for our approval. And then once we approve it, they will come implement it, and they will come to us and train our people for free. But it's about accessing, right? We know that, I'll give you another example, and it's really frustrating. There is a tremendous amount of people in our community that have the education and the knowledge to assist in training our personnel. Okay? So, for instance, I personally, of my 35 years in law enforcement, 21 years was spent specializing in domestic violence and sexual assault. I created curriculum and have taught internationally as well as nationally in those fields. I have created protocols, trained thousands of lawyers and judges, law enforcement officials throughout this country and elsewhere. So when I first got here, I told my wife, I said, you know, I feel kind of guilty that I don't do that anymore, right? I spent all that time developing that knowledge and sharing it. I said, so, you know, I think I'll ask the local organizations, you know, that I can create whatever they want and provide some training for them. You know, I mean, I used to be compensated quite well when I traveled across the United States and outside this country teaching those issues. And so I volunteered my services. And when I did, at that time, it was to Cripple Creek Police Department. And at the time, their chief of police said, well, you know, Mark, no thank you. We have our expert. Our expert's handled like 50 cases in her career. And I said, well, you know, I'm sorry you feel that way, Chief, but, you know, my men handled 5,000 cases annually, you know, for 21 years. So it was interesting to me that they didn't want the training, or they thought their training was adequate. And of course, so I know that there's other professionals within our community that we can access that, you know, that training resource, and they would be more than happy to do it for us for free. So it's about identifying and you know, and getting these people to help us. Yes?
So going back to training, you said that there's this company here that has about $600,000 a year to train law enforcement agencies. So I'm guessing that sexual harassment training would be pretty commonplace. Is he aware of this company? Was he offered their services that he could have taken advantage instead of us paying, it looks like, with a payout to those individuals plus the legal costs roughly $180,000. I'm assuming the training would have been a little bit cheaper.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously he's aware of the organization, why he doesn't access, I don't know, but more importantly, the county HR department has their own training in which they offered the organization and they refused. So, so I can't speak to why he does what he does. I mean, all we can talk about is what we're going to do and how we're going to fix it.
But instead it cost us
Yeah, instead it cost us a lot of money.
$180,000.
Absolutely. So we're talking about solutions, right? It's about us sitting down with HR. These are trained professional people, and let them do what they do well, right? Assist us in identifying, in evaluating, in hiring our employees, using them as a resource to train on sexual harassment issues, right? And those type of things, employee conduct issues, instead of closing them out.